final item, 10E, adopt a resolution waiving the competitive bidding process and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Ranger Pipelines, Inc. for emergency replacement of the water main for the Shelter Creek condominiums in the amount of $100,310, authorizing a project contingency of $15,000 and appropriating $115,310 from the water fund.
Thank you. The Shelter Creek development was constructed in the late 1960s to early 1970s. It is located at the west of Interstate 280, bounded by Shelter Creek Lane, San Bruno Avenue, and Whitman Way. Prior to the development, utility easements were established for the installation of water, sewer, and storm system to serve the complex. And one utility that has been problematic is the water system. The water pipeline consists of pipeline sizes ranging from 6 to 12 inches in diameter, and they're of metallic pipes, cast iron. The majority of the pipelines were constructed within the easements and are directly adjacent to residential buildings, which restricts access for maintenance staff to repair the pipelines whenever a break occurs. There have been 7 known water breaks, and mostly concentrated around Building 7 and Building 8. Since the last main break, staff presented to the utility subcommittee in December of last year and recommended an approach to mitigate the issue. Staff recommended the survey of the entire complex be completed so the feasibility of constructing a new water pipeline and constructability issues can be evaluated. The survey budget was included in the CIP adopted in January of this year, and staff issued the RFP for surveying services and came to council to award a contract to TAO in February. Currently, the draft base mapping has been completed, and the staff is reviewing the submittal and will begin the feasibility alignment assessment. Earlier this month, the water main adjacent to the location where SFPUC contractor Ranger Pipelines was installing the 6-inch diameter experienced a leak. The location of the main break is near Building 4. Since water from the leak was going into SFPUC's pipeline trench, Ranger Pipelines assisted with the excavation to perform the repair. The pipeline was removed. As you can see, on a slide, and there's the section that was removed is actually on the table as well. Since the it has severe corrosion, a section of the existing pipeline was cut. A valve was installed to test whether there will be any additional leak. Once the pipeline was placed back in service, water still flowed into SFPUC's trench from unexcavated and unknown location. Since the extent of the leak location is unknown, operations staff provided temporary services using flexible hose near a fire hydrant for Building 4. Fire service for the building is not affected since the building has a separate fire service. It's only the domestic potable water service that's affected by the main break. So for this temporary service, as you can see here, the water is being served through an above ground hose from a fire hydrant, as you can see from upper left-hand corner, that crosses the entrance to the parking lot with the plywood ramp there, and connection to the existing water main is being made at the lower right-hand corner. To mitigate the issue, staff immediately requested proposals from Ranger Pipelines last week since they were already on site, and West Valley Constructions since they are the city's assigning contractor. Ranger Pipelines provided the cost for the project at the end of last week, and staff negotiated to lower the cost. The final cost for Ranger Pipelines to replace the pipeline repair is $100,310. West Valley declined and indicated that they would not be able to provide a competitive cost proposal since Ranger Pipeline was already mobilized. Staff estimated the cost to be about $90,000. However, with any small project and urgency to replace the pipeline, there's usually a premium included in the cost. The work consists of removing approximately 250 feet of 6-inch cast iron pipeline and replacing with 8-inch high-density polyethylene pipeline, which is plastic, and it would not corrode in the future. There are 2 options for repair of this water line. One option is to go through the formal competitive process. However, then a project will need to be designed, advertised for bid, and awarded at a future council meeting. With that entire process, the repair would take approximately 4 to 5 months. The other option is for the council to waive the competitive bidding process and perform the emergency repair. Emergency exists because the city is utilizing a temporary water service until permanent is restored. The city is also unable to immediately replace the pipeline if the formal competitive bid process is used. The Public Contract Code, Section 1102, defines an emergency as a sudden and unexpected occurrence that poses a clear and imminent danger requiring immediate action to prevent or mitigate the loss or impairment of life, health, property, or essential public services. In the case of emergency, the City Council may take any directly related and immediate action required by the emergency and to procure any necessary equipment, services, and supplies for those purposes without giving notice for bids to let contracts. And action by the City Council to declare existence of emergency and to authorize waiver of the competitive bidding process. Emergency bidding procedure requires a fourth-fifth vote by the City Council. Should the City Council take action to waive the competitive bidding process and to authorize the City Manager to execute a contract with Ranger Pipelines, work is anticipated to begin the week of the July 20th and completed by July 31st. Therefore, staff is recommending to adopt a resolution waiving the competitive bidding process and authorizing the City Manager to execute a contract with Ranger Pipelines for the emergency replacement of the water main for the Shelter Creek condominiums.
Great,
Thank
thank you. Any questions for staff? Action? Ken?
You showed, I know there's a lot of information you just gave out. We don't have a staff report from it. But there's 3 buildings that are really affected, right? And so is that cumulative, the 200 lineal feet, or is it just serving building 4?
The 250 feet is just serving building 4.
Okay, so the entire project, the emergency project is to work on building 4?
That's
only?
correct.
Okay. And then the subcommittee met in December regarding the whole water main issue.
That's
at Shelter Creek. Okay.
Anything else? For action?
I'll introduce the resolution.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 11, council from
Mr. Mayor,
comments. Yes.
I'm sorry, before you move on, just if I could just add to the answer to the question you just asked a moment ago, Councilmember Ibarra, we do anticipate that the result of the work that staff had initiated and recommended during the capital budget review last December will be some sort of a project to replace the remainder of the water pipe in the Shelter Creek subdivision, as it has been problematic in several different locations over a fairly lengthy period of time, and we anticipate that it may be subject to the same type of corrosion issues that are giving rise to the issue, to the immediate emergency issue. So eventually, we're on it, and we do hope to get this area situated in a better, with a better, more stable situation.
My feeling is that if you can find the problem in those other 2 buildings, then go ahead. But I guess this is the more of the
Yeah, that
immediate nature.
would be a great deal more complicated. That would complicate and delay the immediate project.